Hi friends, welcome to my YouTube channel SS Analysis. First of all, I would like to tell you that if you are watching this video first time, subscribe my channel to see my more upcoming videos on analysis of different commodities and equity indices. And second important thing is to watch this video till its end to understand this solely to take your decision. Your work like will motivate me to be regular and working more for you. So let us start the day to analyze the movements of copper in different time frames. So friends, here you can see the movements of copper futures in a monthly time frame. So here you can see that how the silver futures have tested a high during the month of May 2021 at the levels of $4.8883, from where we can see that how an exhaustion is evident enough for continuity of this downward move during the upcoming months, because here I find that Dr. Copper says that economic recovery could be delayed because currently the Chinese production has seen the impact of going commodity prices. Copper futures define the moves what we have seen here at the time of last market crash when the copper tested a high at the $4.2970 before the market crash of 2008 during the month of May 2008, whereas the equity market crash of 2008 started on September 29, 2008. But whereas the recession already been there since November 2007 and continued for a long time, so here I think that the recession comes first before a market crash, and Dr. Copper defines the advent of a recession well in advance, because here you can see that how the copper defined this recessionary move during the year 2008 when the copper futures witnessed a sharp sell-off from here. Here you can see that how the copper continued to witness resistance at $3.9438 during the year 2008, but could not, and a downtrend started here. And here you can see that how the copper witnessed a steep fall from the month of July 2008 after testing a high at the $4.016 and continued to move downward up to the levels of $1.2437 what it tested during the month of December 2008. Undoubtedly, there was a V-shaped recovery in copper futures from these lows, and finally once again the copper futures tested a high at the levels of $4.624 what the copper futures tested during the month of February 2011. So this process of recovery was very strong, and since then the copper futures remained under bearish pressure up to January 2016, and since then we have seen the copper to remain under a very narrow range where it found first resistance at the levels of $2.444, and the second resistance was there at the levels of $2.856, and the next psychological resistance was there at the levels of $3.3874. So friends, here I find that this level at $3.387 was an important psychological resistance up to November 2020 when the copper futures found a breakout above this level. And here you can see how the copper futures started an uptrend once again after testing a low at the levels of $2.137 from March 2020. So here you can see that how the copper futures found a strong base at the levels of $2.137 during the month of March 2020, and from here the copper futures found a strong upward rally which is still continue when the copper futures have tested a lifetime high at the levels of $4.888 during the month of May 2021. So friends, here you can see that how the level of $4.628 seems to be a tough resistance zone where the copper futures tested their previous high during the year 2011. Once again, this level seems to be a tough resistance for copper futures, because here I find that about the level of $4.624, copper futures find extremely difficult to sustain above this level, and finally found a sharp downward move during the month of June 2021 from the levels of of $4.689 and tested low at the levels of $4.1. But here you can see that a sharp recovery was seen here during the month of June 2021. So here I find that the next 3 trading sessions for copper futures could be very decisive, because here we will have to see where the copper futures close this month of June, because here I find that if the copper futures are not able to hold above the immediate support at the levels of $4.272 before this monthly closing, we'll see this bearish pressure to continue during the upcoming weeks. So friends, here I find that if the copper futures find a breakdown below the second support at the levels of $4.171 during the upcoming week, we'll see this downward trend to continue during the upcoming weeks. So friends, now let's check this move in a weekly time frame. So friends, here in a weekly time frame, here you can see that how the copper futures tested a low during the month of March 2020. Here we can see that how the copper futures found a steep downward move from the levels of $2.811 what it tested during the month of January 2020, when the first case of coronavirus got confirmation. So friends, here I find that outbreak of pandemic during the month of January 2020 resulted in a sharp downward move in copper futures, when the copper futures tested a low at the levels of $2.134 during the month of March 2020. But since then we have seen a sharp recovery in copper futures amid growing hopes for speedy economic recovery. But here I find that the copper futures have entered in a overbought territory well above the levels of $4. So here you can see that how the copper futures struggled here to sustain above the level of $4 and finally succeeded to sustain above this important psychological support, and finally succeeded to sustain above the levels of $4.161 during the month of April 2021. So here you can see that how the copper futures found a steep upward move up to the levels of $4.888 what it tested during the month of May 2021. But since then we have seen a sharp downward move in copper futures, where the copper futures have finally found a reversal from the levels of $4.099 what it tested during the third week of June 2021. So here you can see that how the copper futures have closed the last week at an edge. I will say that if the copper futures start the upcoming week with a gap down opening well below this immediate support, we'll see the continuity of a downward pressure in copper futures, where I find that a breakdown of copper below the levels of $4.089 will result in a sharp downward move, where the copper futures could test the upper end of Ichimoku cloud, which is currently at the levels of $3.432. So friends, here we'll have to have a vigil eye over the minute move of copper futures, because if the copper futures are not able to sustain above the immediate support at the levels of $4.270, we'll see the continuity of a downward move in copper futures. But here I find that a breakout of copper above the levels of $4.363 could result in a breakout where the copper could retest these highs once again. But I find that if the copper futures are not able to hold above the important support at $4.089, we'll see the continuity of a downward move. The next support at the levels of $3.732, and the major support can be seen at the upper end of Ichimoku cloud at the levels of $3.385. Friends, now let's check this move in a daily time frame. So friends, here in a daily time frame, here you can see that how the copper tested a high at the levels of $4.371 on February 25th, 2021. But from here, a sharp sell-off was there. The copper tested a low at the levels of $3.844 on March 4th, 2021. And since then, we have seen the copper to trade amid a narrow range, where the copper tried to breach the immediate resistance at the levels of $4.2729 but could not, and constantly tried to breach this resistance. But finally found a strong support at the upper end of Ichimoku cloud when the copper started an uptrend on April 13 from the upper end of Ichimoku cloud, where you can see that the formation of a bullish crossover here resulted in a sharp uptrend in copper futures when the copper futures finally tested a high at the US dollar 4.888 on May 10th 2021, but since then we have seen some selling pressure in copper futures, where you can see that in a daily time frame here the formation of a bearish crossover on May 28, 2021 has resulted in continuation of a bearish pressure, and currently you can see that how copper futures found a base at the US dollar 4.091 on June 21st, from where copper futures showed some strength but could not sustain above the 9 days moving average and finally closed the week below the 9 days moving average, which confirms the continuity of a bearish pressure in copper futures. And undoubtedly, if the copper futures are not able to hold above this strong support at the US dollar 4.091, we will see the continuity of a sharp downward move. So friends, here I find that if the copper futures start the upcoming week with a gap down opening below the levels of dollar 4.222, we will see a strong downward move during the upcoming week, where the copper futures could find it difficult to hold above the level of dollar 4.094, and here a breakdown of copper futures below this level could push the copper futures to test the levels of dollar 3.38 during the upcoming weeks. So friends, here I find that the first 3 trading sessions for the copper futures will be very crucial, because during these 3 trading sessions copper futures will take a decisive move to hold above the levels of dollar 4.026. So friends, here I find that the copper futures look very indecisive at the current position, where I find that if the copper futures are not able to find a breakout above the lower end of Ichimoku cloud, we'll see every rally will be sold below the lower end of Ichimoku cloud, whereas a breakout above the lower end of Ichimoku cloud could push the copper futures to test once again the upper end of Ichimoku cloud, where I find that a system move above the levels of dollar 4.625 could only provide a bullish momentum in copper futures, but I find that any upward move in copper could provide a good opportunity to go short above the levels of dollar 4.625, where our stop loss could be at the levels of dollar 4.784. So friends, be ready to see an action. So friends, here I find that during the upcoming week we'll have to go through highly volatile moves in most of the commodities, whereas the copper futures could remain very volatile. So thank you friends, thanks for watching this video. If you like this video, don't forget to share this video with your more and more friends. Thank you.